Don't know if anyone else will be joining us from the board. So we can just discuss as we do. So we'll start with the, oh, hold on. Michael just, yeah, I don't think anyone else is coming today. Okay. Um, so let's start with policy 0142. The election and the eligibility to serve. I have to grab a pen. Oh, no, I have a pen. So it looks like the suggested changes, this is from Neola, is that right, Stephen?
It is.
It's really interesting as I read through this that A and B are kind of repetitive, but whatever. Names and addresses of the members of the board, so that'd be all the members, but then the names and addresses of the board's officers. Well, wouldn't A already cover that?
In theory.
I mean, I don't know. But maybe there's some reason that needs to be written that way. This seems a little awkward to me, but. And changing some language, just, and of course, changing the age to 18 now. And
I'm sorry. I apologize for that. You said A and B were about the same, or
well, they are right because if it requires that the superintendent file the name and addresses of the board members, wouldn't that be the same as the names and addresses of the board officers?
Well, isn't our officers? Isn't that like the president, the vice president, the?
Yes,
But if they're all,
but if they already have their names,
But I think maybe they just want to know who
they are.
That's what
Yeah,
I think.
The addresses thing caught me because I'm like, you already have that with A.
Yeah.
But
here's the page.
Cindy, are you thinker?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, and then, of course, with the new legislative changes, the addition of adding the candidate's political party affiliation.
Is that ever a question because of the primary? You know how they have people who run for office?
You still don't have a primary. You're not involved in the primary. You don't have.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
that's
that's
a
a
good
good question. I don't think so, no.
I know that's a new.
No, and I know that if someone votes a straight ticket, that's, the school board is not included on that.
Okay.
They used to have the elections in May and during the primary, but they weren't. The turnout was so low, they changed it now.
Are things going to change now that we have to declare though?
You don't have to.
You don't have to declare.
Yeah, one of the options is that we can say that you're not affiliated with any political party.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it just
I
would be
just
left
wondering
blank under it.
Okay. Yeah.
Is my understanding from what I've read.
All right.
Okay, so I guess any questions or further discussion? Looks like this is just getting up to date with the new.
Yeah, it was a suggestion or recommended change of the September update from Neola.
Okay.
It was just their recommended changes. So the only thing I think you would have to select would be under letter E.
Oh.
If you would select one of the three. I don't believe you select all three.
Whereas E is 18 years and older.
Oh, I'm sorry.
E, I see. E under which section?
In the,
Under G.
yeah, under G.
Okay.
E under G.
Oh, one of the following. Oh. No, I think this isn't a selection. I think this is
Yeah.
what when someone goes to
Yeah.
run that they have to go when they
Yes.
decide. So I think we have to leave all those in.
Yeah.
And then I noticed under the legal,
Mhm.
is there a new Indiana code that's listed there now and it's just not in green because of the changes, or was this just an addition to?
I don't believe that they changed the
Okay.
Indiana Code recommendations. They're all still current policy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see an addition under the Indiana Code.
Okay. Any questions or comments, Nicole? Anyone else? Okay, so we'll move this one toward a first reading at the next school board meeting as presented with the changes. Next is policy 3220, staff evaluation. This was revised and with recommendations from Neola.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it looks like we've gotta decide if it's reviewed and amended annually or as needed. Is that,
That's correct.
what's the recommendation?
Recommendation is as needed.
Okay. So there's that.
Yep, I'm good with that. I noticed that E was removed and we currently have that. Is that just, it's the provision that a teacher who negatively affects student achievement and growth cannot receive a rating of highly effective or effective. Is there a reason why we want to remove that?
That is just the recommendation from Neola.
Neola recommends that, okay.
I'm sorry.
It's E, but
Yeah.
we have that in our current policy.
Yeah, so why would we not?
That's what I'm
have it?
wondering. Like, if someone's negatively
It's
affecting student achievement.
one of the places where it might get challenging in the secondary when they change classes 8 times. Is how can you pinpoint who is responsible for negatively impacting a student,
Good point.
or at high school level. In elementary settings, they're usually self-contained like that. So it's one person about all day. But once you leave the elementary setting, you have multiple teachers in a day. So who is responsible for negatively impacting, or how are we measuring that might be challenging.
I don't know. Yeah. I feel like the same thing. I mean, like there's teacher evaluation, you have to pinpoint, in general. I don't know.
Yeah, well, there may, as the things we alluded to, there can be challenge at that certain level with the variance in instructors. Push from the show, the laboratory tool set used and evaluating themselves with proper training and capacity should be able to filter out the effectiveness of the teacher. It's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, because it's saying that, I mean, we have to show that the teacher negatively affected that student's achievement, which
Yeah.
to me comes in on their classroom, something happened
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
it was. it
There's like a
negatively
burden of
Yeah.
proof.
Right, and
that
it
has to be-
negatively affected them, and. Does Neola ever give, like, I don't know how that works,
I was
does
gonna
Neola
say-
ever say, like, here's why we
Yeah,
feel like it should be
rationale.
removed?
Right.
What we'll do is we'll reach out
Okay.
to our
Okay.
consult and ask they can provide us with rationale.
I
Okay,
wonder if there'd be something that, because not all teachers, I mean, there's no metrics that we use for PE. So a PE teacher wouldn't receive the same kind of scrutiny as
right,
what an English teacher would, because we test for English.
Yeah.
So to have a negative impact as a PE
Special
teacher would be
teacher.
very difficult to prove. And so is that fair that teacher is under this amount of scrutiny and this teacher's? And I don't know.
yeah, that's good.
As I look at that, that's what I think, that it's not equal amongst all the teachers. I'm gonna be wrong with that.
Yeah,
Say it one more time, I'm sorry.
The scrutiny that different teachers, whatever you teach, is not the same.
Mhm.
And so, is it fair that an English teacher is under the scrutiny that if you don't show growth, then you're going to get hammered on this? Where a PE teacher,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying they do this because our PE teachers are amazing and they don't. You can just roll out the balls and just make sure everybody gets back to the classroom safely and everything's good, because there's not the scrutiny of standardized testing for them.
Yeah.
And so is that fair for those two?
It's the same traditional argument though in social studies and science versus ELA and math.
Right, because science is much more part. And social studies is much more.
Absolutely right about that. I concur. And
So, and I don't know, but when I read that, definitely not Spanish. But when I read through that, I think that's what I think of is it equitable for all of the teachers, or some held to a higher standard
yeah.
than others, where they should all be held to a high standard. That's
we'll definitely reach out and get some rationale.
In our current policy, we have all of those B, D, E, F, G, C, all of them selected. I know that's an option here to choose. I noticed the green. So I guess what's the recommendation from the people who actually do these evaluations?
Pull it up real quick.
Is there any need for any changing or removing those or not selecting those?
Get back.
Yeah, like B, I think, I mean, I guess we select all of those if things are going well with the evaluation process. I've got to get a different pen, like,
Yeah.
you have an extra.
Yeah.
Okay, so for now, unless we hear otherwise, we're gonna select all of those that are in green for those letters as indicators. The next, the second page, the corporation's annual evaluation plan shall be in writing. And then do we want it shall be explained to the board in a public meeting before the evaluations are conducted?
I don't feel like that's necessary personally. I don't know.
Do we currently
I
have
don't think
that
we've done that
selected?
over.
Okay. So I'm gonna leave that unselected then.
Wait, currently policy, yes, that is in there.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It says it shall be explained. That
I don't
whole
think
thing is so vague. Have we ever?
Is that when we take the evaluation process to the board? Is that what that is explaining to? Like
Yeah.
what we have to provide to the state, our evaluation guidelines? I wonder if that's what that's referring to.
I would say yes.
Okay.
And you're just explaining how what tool we use and how it works,
Okay.
which is brought to the board currently.
Talks about new teachers get so many observations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we should leave that in then. Keep
I
explaining it
think
to
that,
us.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, we need to, though, we don't have, like, if you want, because that's statutory that we have to do that.
Right.
So that's already in requirements. Do you want it in policy that even if it wasn't statutory, we would have to do it, is what I think this does. So if you don't want that and we just follow statute, we still have to bring it right now. It's just if statute ever changes and we don't have to, do you as the board want that? At that point, I think is what that checkbox means. Does that make sense?
Thank you. I think it'd be good for the board to always hear what the evaluation metrics are and understanding of that personally.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
And I would think the explanation could be in paper form. Here it is. Here, in written form.
Well, it does say to be explained to the board in a public meeting. That makes
But everybody could see that
Yeah,
if it was
that's true.
board docs.
okay.
It would just be something we have to keep on our radar for 2026 with a timeline, because if we begin evaluating in September or even late August, we have to do it prior to that. So something to keep on the board for the agenda items that we have, so we do it so that we can evaluate timely, so we don't find ourselves stuck in trying to evaluate in December. Like really tricky.
Yeah. Okay. And let's see, that it's not, the plan is not subject to collective bargaining. I think that's in our current policy as well.
Yeah, it is. That's currently in there.
That's not.
No, currently the policy states the plan is not subject to bargaining. However, discussion of the plan shall be held. And this is what is changing. Is that
I see.
nor is discussion required.
Okay,
That legal statute with discussions is no longer applicable.
okay,
It was a few years ago.
okay.
Is that something we're going to hear pushback from?
Perhaps. I know that we presented to our association earlier this spring options that we are considering. Because again, with an evaluation, as you all are well aware, the key is to provide descriptive feedback so as to provide routes for educators to continue to improve upon their craft. And most importantly, as evaluators, we want to make sure we have tool sets that can accurately capture what's actually occurring in the classroom when we're assessing instruction. And so, no, I don't believe this will be a challenge. And most importantly, I think that's the other rationale state had arrived at a few semesters ago, which is why it's now no longer a part of discussion.
So this is kind of updating that, saying it's not, discussion's not required because we don't have discussion anymore. I mean, at the corporate level.
We won't have discussion as was
It's not
the case in the
necessary.
past.
Right,
Yes,
right.
and it's not required. We definitely still converse and
Oh, yeah.
elaborate, but yes,
Yes.
from that technical standpoint, the legal standpoint, yes, change.
Okay. And then it looks like we're removing language that discuss the plan with teachers. Or I guess, was that ever done or was it always through discussion? How did that happen in the past?
I think that was prior to the statute changing that in a discussion forum, such conversation we had.
This doesn't take away, how do the teachers understand their evaluation from their principal?
Yeah.
Describe it and,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's still, all of that is still intact.
Yeah, there are guidelines for the evaluative process
Okay,
that is communicated out before evaluations even begin.
Yeah.
Then who receives how many evaluations, who their evaluator is. In the riser book, they'll do a pre-assessment. So there is a lot of conversation before a classroom observation actually happens.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, there was a pre and or post conference. So you can do those things so that the teacher or the evaluatee has communicated at length with their evaluator about what was written, what was said. And as always, if they feel like that wasn't their best, they can request an additional evaluation from the evaluator.
okay.
And or request a secondary evaluator
Yeah.
to come in and evaluate. So there's different adult processes that they involve.
Okay, great. Any other comments or discussion about this? Okay. The things we selected and then,
I just want to note that in C, it does remove the language of highly effective, improvement necessary, and ineffective as being required. Those, you can still use that language, I believe, under statute, but it's not required. So what that did, it separates teachers into buckets based on a finalization score.
Mhm.
That's no longer applicable under statute. So
Okay.
it removes that language.
But in practice, we are still using that language.
Currently, yes.
Okay. Are we looking to change that?
Not necessarily.
so is that fine that we're removing that? I mean, I know it's not required by Indiana code, or do we need to still have that in, but just take out where it suggests or where it,
I think it's okay to remove it
Okay.
because it doesn't limit us.
okay,
Whereas this, if
It's very much funneled into one system only.
Yeah.
So it's I view it as limiting. So I think it's appropriate then to remove the language because the statute is not there anymore.
okay, great. Thanks for pointing that out. The next policy is 3220.01, the teacher appreciation grants. So several selections, several changes. So if we look at the first option, the corporation shall or may apply for, and currently it says shall. Is that right? I looked at the current policy.
Yeah.
May obviously gives us more flexibility. Is that, what would the preference be?
Right here.
The first
The
reading.
corporation shall or may apply for and distribute teacher appreciation grants. Shall means we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
May is maybe.
I think we have to. I think we have to select May because, for
Okay.
example, I believe it's Randolph County, just to the north of us, shows this past year or this current year not pursue the teacher appreciation grant. There's several counties as well as school corporations across the state that have chosen not to pursue the
Yeah.
teacher appreciation grant for their respective school corporations or districts. And so I think May allows us the option to continue to collaborate with the local association as well as the local teachers to find out which route they would prefer to travel. For example, one of the arguments made in a neighboring school corporation was that given the changes that have come with the teacher appreciation grant per the state house, many of them find that you know, it's somewhat pitting educators against one another. And so therefore, many have expressed to their administration and school boards that they prefer not to pursue. In other words, if they don't find it to be as equitable, I'll say that, as has been in past practice. And so I know when speaking with our educators, the encouragement was to pursue. And so I'm not going to steal any thunder from Mr. Hensley or Mr. Miles. I know that collectively we all have been pursuing further understanding of the TAG grant. We got a pretty good handle on it. But I think May gives us the option to
Go either way.
Yeah.
Okay. So we will change that to May.
Yeah, currently that sentence in green does not exist in the current policy. That's new.
Got it.
Okay. I'm just trying to compare this to what we currently have so I can better understand. It's
I think all the green is new. It's like
The tag
is. Everything
grade
has
received in U-Haul.
changed.
It's drastically different.
Right.
Than what we just did. Typically this year we'll be distributing tag funds, but that is not happening.
Mhm.
Tag grant is received an overhaul, and some of it's not even completed yet.
So whoever distributes these grants, have they reviewed this, the new policy to make sure?
Yeah.
And
So the part that, if we go through it, eligibility for teacher appreciation grant, that is coming directly from the tag guidance. That is unchanged, really.
just we're adding it to a policy now.
Yeah,
Hasn't been.
there is a policy right now. It's 3220.01, but it refers to 3442. So it's kind of convoluted in there. But the process that did exist is so different now than it used to be. So it received pretty much a giant overhaul.
Okay, wait, can we back up a minute? Why do we have the policy 3442 and 3220 when they're both?
I don't know why that exists that way.
Okay.
I requested Neola to change that.
Okay,
3442 doesn't exist in board docs anymore.
okay,
So I think they tucked 3442 into the 3220.01.
okay, so we will no longer have the 3442.
Yeah, it's not in there right now.
Okay,
I think that was an old policy.
okay.
and Mr. Hensley, Mr. Mops, if you all don't mind, for Mrs. Broughton and Mrs. Stolz, I'm not sure how up to date you are with the changes that have come with the tag grant, but if you all don't mind, just give that Cliff Notes version. Cliff Notes
Oh, I
version
can give you a
of some of the
Okay.
changes that have come with the tag grant compared to when it was established when we all were in the classroom.
Okay, here's the big differences. In previous practice, tag, everybody got a small portion. Everybody got distributed that. That is not happening. The state of Indiana, under statute 20.43.16, under House Enrolled Act 1001, they say these three things. The district corporation, if we elect in to tag, will identify no more than 20% of the certified educators as eligible recipients based on criteria provided by IDOE, determine the appropriate stipend tiers, because there are only 3 tiers now, for the identified educator, and to report how each certified teacher met the specific designation criteria within that tier.
Mhm.
So no longer is every teacher getting a small portion. There are teachers up to 20%, no more than that, based on our allocation, which we do have our allocation. It's a little north of 155K. But the tiers, there are three. Tier 1 is $3,500. Tier 2 is, I believe, $5,000, and Tier 3 is $7,500. So if you divide 155 out and try to get to 20%, you're looking at some really tricky math.
Okay, so before, teachers just got like a little gift of
Exactly.
doing nothing.
If they,
No, I mean, nothing.
they
I'm
had to
not
be,
saying that.
they had to be at least effective.
Effective or higher
Okay.
advantage.
They had to be at least effective.
Oh, this was related to
Qualified.
the, okay.
So it wasn't every teacher. You had
These two
So
boxes,
the dollar.
they're
the dollar
connected.
more.
Yeah.
Okay, I got that.
Yeah.
I got the dollar. Okay.
And it was distributed
Okay.
at this time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was distributed now.
Okay.
And so a lot of teachers were thinking they're going to get this little
Christmas
check for
bonus.
Christmas.
Yep.
And it's not being distributed
Okay.
until the spring now, which,
And-
but that was all late. Like we found that out.
Yeah.
And now there's a strong criteria attached to it.
There is. So
Okay.
Well, and that's what you were referencing in regards to competing
Yep,
with the
that's
top
why
being
that makes
20%.
Okay.
And how do you? I
And
mean,
some teachers are not eligible to receive it
Correct.
at all.
Right,
Because
but
of their
I'm
position.
guessing we have more than 20% that are eligible. So amongst those, then how is that
there's a
determined?
selection criteria we have to develop as a district,
Okay,
and we're currently working with
so
that.
to be determined.
Yep.
Okay.
We have to submit a plan by the last day of January. Has to be
Okay.
by the IDOE.
We're not immune to this. It's
Yeah.
determined around the county. As county superintendents, as state superintendents, we all have been in communication as to what would be the
Yeah,
best
what are you
route to
doing? What
travel.
are we doing?
No doubt
Okay.
about it. And there's been a few educators that have seeked out opportunities to collaborate with one another in the county. And so, we have some conversations coming up here in due time that will be able to pinpoint how we're going to.
It seems highly problematic.
Oh, without a doubt, there's some complexities.
It's tough.
That's a nice way to say it.
Some
No, there
folks,
was
Figure it out.
some folks, just so you know, some folks who off the top won't be able to receive or apply for any of this. You have to instruct the students in the last school year. So if you're like a school counselor or maybe an instructional coach, kids aren't rostered to you. You're not an eligible
You can't
educator
even-
under the IDE
yeah.
guidance.
Okay.
Right.
And
well,
there's-
there's a lot of discussion about whether you even pursued this because it did pit people against each other
Yeah.
and didn't know about the feelings, and so that was a difficult decision in itself.
And again, depending upon which side of the fence you're on politically, there's a lot of speculation as to what it may be trying to hint at.
I've never heard of competitive teaching, but this kind of
Well,
introduces
the old also traditional argument that is surfaced in our profession is merit pay. And I recall a few board members in past practice have talked about merit pay. But it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And most importantly, of what we are learning, it could all change next year.
So, as it pertains to the policy, are we even at a point where we can and should be revising this? Does that make sense?
I
It sounds
think
like
yes.
we're in limbo still.
we don't have the components of the application process or the criteria. That can be determined. There's a drafting note in here that we don't have to include that in here. If you want my suggestion, it would be to put it as an administrative guideline,
Okay.
and so that we
Attach it that
can embed the process to an AG. The core components of TAG have changed. Statute, that's law now.
Mhm.
The legislative body made that choice. We're just responding to it. So much of this we can look through. I don't know if it's ready for a first read yet. I think we should really take some time to consider it, as it does impact a lot of teachers, and maybe not some in a really great way, but a lot in a not great way. $5,000 can be life-changing money for some folks. So
Well, I
if
almost
we were to
feel
get
like-
that tier,
By, putting this in front of the board, we're stirring a pot that we don't know, like, what the outcome's going to be even yet. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
So,
I think the premise behind it is proactivity.
mhm.
We know that by the end of January, we have to submit a plan to the IDOE.
Okay.
And then grant funds have to be dispersed really towards April and May.
Yeah.
So we have to at least get out in front of it and say,
Okay.
we are
Yeah.
thinking about it, we have a plan, and we have a process so that we can get it done by the April deadline, really mid-April.
The
Got it.
other part is right now our policy says shall. If we don't change it to may, then no matter what, we have to do
We
this.
don't have the
And
option.
so
Okay.
I think that is
Okay.
probably the biggest key to this whole policy.
Okay.
That
Got
we
it.
all need to understand. It's probably going to change again based on guidance. But
Okay. But
getting
we know that
may in
going
there is
in,
important.
and we can pivot. All right.
I think the part that I'm not ready to commit to today, or like that maybe caution you with, is under the drafting note, where that you have the options there to define the criteria. We're not prepared to do that as
It's all blank.
right. It is well, yeah. They say this listed out.
Okay.
My recommendation would be to include that as an AG, the criteria and the process. The tag, a lot of it's just outlining who's eligible, who's not. You'll see at the end of the option section on the next page, like the recognition levels, like 3,500, 5,000, 7,500. Again, that's defined by the new tag statute.
Okay.
And then pretty much gets rid of everything else that was. It just changes it.
Okay. So we take out the drafting note, I guess, remove all that. At the end of the options, leave everything after that. That's great. Okay,
Yeah.
this makes sense to get this ball rolling. I don't know, we need to review it again or add these, or decide not to put them in the criteria that it's guidelines, or one here, we can just bring it back.
Yeah, because if it takes us a couple of meetings through policy, it'll get to board February, March. That's getting really close to that dispersal date in April.
Yeah.
That should give us ample time.
Yeah.
To not only learn some of those question marks that still hang, but also keeps ahead of the game.
Okay. Okay, so we can just go to first reading then. Next policy is with the 3131 reduction of force. We have not reviewed this since 2018. Are there any recommended changes to this policy, or?
This policy, we are currently seeking attorney guidance on how to modify it. Neola did not recommend any changes. Again, proactivity is the key here. And after the collective bargaining sessions, should we find ourselves in need of this particular policy? We certainly hope not, but if we find ourselves in need of it, I want to make sure we are clear on how it will work so that our educators, we're kind to them, so we know. I think clear is kind. Brene Brown says that. I want to get out front and say we know what's happening, we know the policy, we know the process, so that if we need it come this spring semester, we have it. One of the key things off the top of my head, the discussion language is removed. So if you're wanting a recommendation from me prior to receiving all of the attorney guidance, because we've asked a few attorneys, the discussion prior to RIF, if we find ourselves needing that, I would remove that. But the board sets policy. I'm just going to make that recommendation. I don't think I will, before we gather all of the attorney guidance, I want to bring it to the board early to say, should we need it? We've reviewed it, revised it, and we're prepared to have it.
Okay. Is that your only recommendation, is to remove that discussion prior to RIF section?
At this time, yes.
And again, as Mr. Hensley mentioned, we also are collaborating and communicating with our legal counsel, just to make sure that we're shoring up language as well as providing clear and concise understanding of what the policy and the subsequent guidelines.
Yeah. Under the procedure for RIF, and the policy, 2 policies ago, we just reviewed removing the highly effective language. In paragraph 2, you'll see that highly effective, that language still in there. So we'll probably have to review that with our attorneys to make sure there's no statute we're missing there. So that language could be subject to change. Generally speaking, my recommendation would be to outline a general procedure maybe in this policy, and through an administrative guideline, list out criteria for how the RIF could be conducted. And that would be looking at different factors, understanding who's impacted based on there's a higher date, there's a statute we have to watch out for. There are a few, like as far as buckets of educators, if we found ourselves down the rabbit hole of the RIF process, who would be impacted and how they'd be impacted, I would embed through an AG.
So it sounds like this is being looked at and maybe this needs to come back to the next policy meeting
I
with
would
some
agree.
stronger recommendations.
Absolutely.
Or with some clear, does that sound good?
Yes.
I think so. I just wanted to put it. I don't like surprises,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want the board to be surprised by anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to put it up to very early this December. Should we find ourselves needing this, I want to have it done and be super clear, crystal clear on how it will impact negatively educators. What will happen?
Yeah.
So that's why I brought it so early.
Okay, thank you for that. That's good. Okay, any other questions regarding this policy?
The only other thing I was going to allude to that we've spoken with educators here recently regarding potentiality of considering reduction in force. And I know that as all, again, going back to it, as all school corporations around the state have been, will be engaging in such dialogue. The one thing that we're trying to do is make sure that we're providing accurate education. And most importantly, looking at trying to protect the classrooms as much as possible with all of the considerations that we have before us.
So it sounds like we've reviewed these. Our next policy meeting, the few board members who were not present at the last one would like to review again the facilities policy.
Okay.
So we're gonna bring that back to the next policy meeting, hoping they can come and have a clearer understanding of that.
Both policies from the last board meeting. Well, there's a
Actually, it was from the last policy meeting. We discussed the facilities policy.
So it's usage for one.
Oh,
I made no changes.
Yeah, we made no changes, but we want to.
Do we want our insurance agent here?
Yes, that would be great.
All right.
I think that would be good.
that's good.
And then obviously we'll bring back this RIF policy. And then something in strategic planning we've been talking about is policies. What's our procedure for bringing policies to this body? So we obviously Neola is guiding us with changes. Do we have any that are pending that Neola has suggested?
Yeah. So
Okay.
they do like a quarterly update. I was digging into the archive.
Okay.
Neil, I mean the 8 I originally shared with you.
Uh-huh.
I just selected. I thought the 4 that were the most urgent.
Okay.
So we could look. There are more than just the 8.
Okay.
There's some that are bylaws. Like there's some that are just technical corrections.
Uh-huh.
Technical corrections are just they would just mean like we're changing Indiana code or little minor things that are
Yeah.
clerical in nature. So we could bring a ton of those to you.
Yeah.
I would say I think there were 25 updates in the last one. I just went through and was selecting. I thought the 8 that made the most sense, and then from the 8 prioritizing the 4 most high priority ones.
Okay. Yeah, I think if there, especially technical corrections, I mean, we can bring
Yeah.
10, 15.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd say the next policy meeting, if we had those, and then facilities will probably take some time.
Okay.
Then the RIF. And then if there's another one that you feel like, oh, this one's,
Yeah.
other than that, these may take up the time, but the easier ones we can.
Yeah. I'll dig into. There are a couple of bylaws that were recommended changes. So I will share with you.
Okay.
I'll send an email with all of them in it, and then if you have questions, we can bring them all, or we can bring some of them.
Okay.
You guys tell me what you bring, and I'll just send you the whole list because it was in that large PDF I sent. It's kind of convoluted because it's toward the bottom.
Okay.
But there are some that are just bylaw changes. Like there was one bylaw recommended change that it was about the compensation structure for board members, but that would impact a lot of things. So we could bring that. There's a lot we could bring. So I will send them all to you.
Don't send them to me. Sorry.
I was gonna say the
You
same. I'm
pick
like,
out
actually
10.
don't in this.
Sorry.
I send a large email.
Then you choose 10 technical corrections and the facilities we're going to discuss and the RIF and nothing else at this time. Unless there's one other that you're like, oh my gosh, we've got to discuss.
Thank
But
you,
I think
Kristen.
sorry. I was like, don't send me that email, please. No offense. And then I'd also suggest that when it's in when you put it in board docs, that it has the old policy and the new one.
You want older, yeah.
Yeah, just because that helps going back and forth. And I know we can look them up, but it just kind of, I think it makes it easier for the
Consolidated.
public too,
Yeah,
if it's consolidated.
we could do that.
That'd be great. Great. And so let's schedule our next one. We've been teetering between the 10 a.m. and the 4 p.m. time so that we can allow people so the next meeting would be at 4 p.m. in January. And I think we'll be discussing soon before the new year who will be on. I mean, this year I kind of led the policy, but I don't know if I will continue in January, but we'll go ahead and schedule it and we get it ahead of time. I mean, board members can attend. And we typically have it on Tuesdays and 4 p.m. So January 13th, does that work for anyone or everyone? Does that work?
At 4 p.m.
4 p.m. on January 13th?
When is the school safety BTM?
6 and 7.
Perfect. That works.
That works. Okay, so our next policy meeting, January 13th, 4 p.m.
Perfect.
Great.
Okay.
Meeting adjourned. Thanks.
We're moving the election or the policy 0142 to first reading. 3220, the staff eval to first reading.
Yes.
And the teacher appreciation grant, we're moving that to first reading also.
Yes.
Okay, with the changes.
Yes.
Yes. I just want to make sure you're okay with that. In policy 3220, there was letter E that was you wanted rationale from Neola. If we move it to first read, are you okay if we get the rationale while it's in going to first read?
Wait, which one? What?
Policy
Yeah,
3220, the staff eval.
Oh, yes.
You had a question about the
Yes.
like
E.
Yeah.
we have slated that to go to first reading. Are you okay if we do that and get guidance from Neola as to why
Yes.
they did that?
And then, either put it back in if you feel, once you've discussed and feel like we need it in there or not, and then have rationale why. That'd be great.
Okay.
Because one of the things potentially that has been stated time and again is that with regard to these policies, they can go as many readings as necessary. Yes, to get them across the finish line or not. So,
Great.
thank you all.
Thank you very much. And I think especially with that facilities one, that email that you sent before with all the information is probably gonna have to be sent again to the entire board. Okay, that'd be great.
Just to do
It'd
it
be the
right
fourth time you forwarded.
I know.
No, don't do it now.
Yeah.
Let me know when it
I-
needs to go.
I
out.
would say, maybe a
the
week.
week before.
Yeah.
Have
that'd be great.
principals going to that safety
I'm not gonna.
I'll put a
school
calendar
6 and
invite
7
on every
because the
week.
6 is Liz and IET and the 7 is our K-12.
Laura.
That's good.
And
Let's have 2 minutes.
6 is what?
And IET
Oh,
with Liz.
yeah. There we go. You can take up 5. You can
Just
take up
those 2 minutes, Brad.
5. What's the 7?
Our K-12.
Facilities.
Anybody else?
Along with others.
Carrie can go. She's on that.
Yeah, Derek can go.
Carrie can go.
I haven't been.
Brad, you and Brad, Carrie.
How's it going?
Oh, it is. There's 4. So she can take up to 5. I've already put it in like column to see if it'll change, but I'm sure they'll care. Just name badge. That's all it is.
Stacey, are we still recording? Yep. Thank you.
Oh, I had a couple more things to say.
No, you don't.
Could you put us back live? I didn't